Ty Brady here with Brady Insurance Marketing in the Ty Brady Way. As a successful entrepreneur myself, I'm passionate in helping other entrepreneurs do the same as they rise from rags to riches and get inspired each week on the stories they tell here at the Ty Brady Way. Welcome back to another episode of the Ty Brady Way. Today I have Zack on the show, and he did say he started a podcast show, so you have to go check back his old episodes. He's got about 30 or 40 downloads. I think we're pushing over 300 now, but we're going to get to know Zack today, and maybe on a personal level or maybe not on a personal level. But Zack, welcome to the show.
I appreciate it. Appreciate you reaching out.
Yeah,
this will be fun.
Yeah, get you out of comfort zone a little bit.
I'll be good after a good 10, 20 minutes.
Yeah,
then you'll be trying to get me to shut up.
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
What are you currently doing? And then we'll kind of backward, what are you doing right now? And why did you start going down the race? So what do you do right now?
Right now, I am an online coach and personal trainer, one-on-one out of Origin Gym in Bluffdale. So,
okay.
Coaching a lot of people online all over the country with fitness, nutrition, workouts, supplementation, things like that, helping people become more healthy metabolically or want to become more fit, or in a more extreme case, like in my case, where you want to compete in bodybuilding.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything kind of in between. You would have, lifestyle is people that fall under people that just want to put on muscle, burn fat, get healthier, but don't necessarily want to go compete or anything like that. Then you have the competitor side of things. So I work with a very wide range of male, female, natural athletes, enhanced athletes, lifestyle competitors, like from, single stay-at-home moms to entrepreneurs, stuff like that. So it's been a good ride for the last few years that I started doing that.
What is that device I see in the gym and my wife uses?
Yep.
And then, you mentioned that the fitness industry's changed as a whole, but what is that device first?
So yeah, that device is a neuromuscular electrical stimulation device. So basically, these were primarily made for more clinical use with physical therapists and using it for physical therapy, rehab, people coming out of surgery or have had injuries, stuff like that, people that don't really have a lot of mobility and can't really move too well, to help just do a wide range of things in a clinical setting. And what is these are starting to fall into the fitness and bodybuilding world, where you use this to actually help to increase your muscle building potential. So the device itself is, it's about this big. They have a few different types of brands, but it's like about the same size of an iPad, but like about as thick as a book. And you take that, has wires attached to it, and at the end of the wires, you hook little sticky electrodes.
Mm-hmm.
And with those, you attach them to whatever muscle that you want to work that day. So let's say I'm training chest that day, attach them against the muscle fibers on my chest, and then I can send an electrical current to those electrodes, and that will cause the muscle to contract. And I can control the amount of voltage going to that. And the higher that I take it, the more electricity goes in, the harder contractions that we can get. And by doing that, you create what's called mechanical tension. So basically just the muscles getting super, super tight, and the tighter you can get them, the more growth you can stimulate. So
you do that at the same time as lifting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So you use the external load of the weights in conjunction with the electrical stimulation, and you can get maximum muscle contraction that is far beyond what we can do on our own with our own brain or central nervous system. So it's a pretty wild experience, and I tell everybody, I'm like, I can explain it to you for hours and hours and hours, but until you get hooked up to it and feel it, it's just such wild technology. And so, like I said, this E-stim technology has been around. I think the Russians developed it in like the 1930s or something like that, using it, biologically on people's bodies. And it's advanced a lot over the years, where this specific device that I'm using runs on direct current. So you have your electrical systems, AC and DC.
Mhm.
AC is alternating. DC is direct current. Now, I don't expect anybody to understand that unless you're an electrician or something like that. But in simple terms, in relation to our body's nervous system is run on electricity, right? That's how we send signals through our brain to certain muscles, and a whole lot of processes going on. So we get to kind of hijack that system, and the direct current system that this machine uses is more of what our body kind of runs on. We have this continuous current going through our body, alternating current, which is the other types of E-stim. You can utilize that, but you will not get the same results that a direct current will, because our body just agrees with it more. So I always joke around, I'd say this was made for more of like rehab physical therapy, but meatheads like me just figured out how to get jacked with it.
Yeah.
It's worked really well. I've used it for probably 3 years on myself with my training partner before I got one myself and started training people on it. And it's been awesome. I've seen a lot of really, really accelerated results in terms of building muscle. For like a lot of the competitors come to me because it gives them a little bit of an edge, because you can cure muscle tissue at such a rapid rate compared to just doing it on your own, that whether you're natural or enhanced, you're getting almost and this is kind of gray area, but almost like steroid like growth in a relatively short period of time, because that stimulation and the ability to cause the muscle to contract as tight as possible creates so much stimulus to that area that it just ramps up the muscle building potential. So it's a pretty incredible device, and I mean it's made for things that are way more advanced than that. They're teaching people or helping people relearn how to like walk, people that have like motor issue skills where they might be paralyzed.
To fix the signal, huh?
Yeah. So if somebody comes and they have like nerve damage or something like that, and we can stimulate that area in a way, we can kind of alleviate that. And I've never done this, but there's case studies where they have helped people who are previously paralyzed get motor function back to those areas.
Wow.
And at the least have feeling back in places where they didn't have feeling before. So the potential for the devices is far greater than what I'm doing, but I'm just in a really specialized position. Me being a bodybuilder, so people kind of come to me for like the muscle building side of things.
So you said there was that's one of the new things I've seen. Well, newer, I guess. What else has changed in the last 5 years when it comes to your industry?
Man, so like we were saying before we started recording, social media has changed a lot of the fitness and bodybuilding industry. It's brought a lot more people to want to compete.
Yes.
It allows like coaches and professionals a lot more range to reach out to people and attract clients and bring in leads, and just that reach has just brought so many more people into bodybuilding and fitness. And it's grown over the years. I mean, I see from when I started right about 10, 11 years ago, going to the gym and bodybuilding and fitness, like it was kind of there, but over the last around 5, 6, 7 years, it has just massively blown up. You go into the big box gyms like Vasa or EOS, and they are packed all the time, packed. And it was not like that when I started. You would have your peak times and stuff like that, but nothing like how it is today. So you're bringing in a lot of younger people.
I was just say, I've seen a lot of younger people wanting to compete. You're 18, 24 in that range. One of my agents, he's 22 and competed.
Yeah. It's become a very, very popular thing, and I think social media, and then also one of the main Mr. Olympias over the last few years that a lot of people know about, Chris Bumstead, he grew in the competitive space as YouTube and social media was growing, and so he's bringing in all these young guys who want to be C-Bum, is like his short name. And so I think that's drawn a lot of younger people, why you see so many like teenagers and young 18, 19, 20-year-olds in the gym, because they look up to guys like him, because he documented pretty much his whole journey from when he started as like an amateur into multiple Mr. Olympia wins, and he's I think he's responsible for a lot of that. And I think just social media and in general, being able to share experiences with each other, and now things that weren't necessarily cool now have been made cool. And also, I think fitness and biohacking have really blown up and kind of become trendy. And I think social media has heavily facilitated a lot of that growth.
Well, I mean, I look at like, was it the methane blue, the peptides, all the different supplements you can get. I mean, there's a host of information out there, and it's right on your hand, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's another thing. Like Amanda and I, when we're training and stuff like that, we're always talking about peptides and like biohacking stuff and fitness, and yeah, it's really cool because certain ideas or products, things like that, they can take off so quickly because they can be shown to everyone right out the gate. Right? There's not a lot of things aren't necessarily built up from like word of mouth or anything like that. It's the word of mouth is instantaneous now. So where you get a certain influencer that has enough of a following, they say, "Hey, I'm taking methylene blue." Boom, methylene blue is now the thing, or whatever peptides, the BPC 157, TB 500, the new GLP-1s. I think, like we were saying before, I think every industry has the ability to grow so much more and so much faster.
Yeah.
Because the social media realm has just made it so we can connect with just hundreds, thousands, millions of people in a very, very short period of time.
Yeah. You mentioned that you started competing 10, 12 years ago. What started you down that, or fitness in general? What started you down that path?
Yeah. So kind of a long story. So I'll go back and give a little bit of context.
Yeah.
So when I was a teenager, far before I started bodybuilding, I got into a lot of trouble with like law enforcement and stuff. I got like a lot of charges.
I'm just I've heard this story from time to time. Not used necessarily, but yeah.
Yeah. Being a man, and I've been pretty open about it. I've become more open about it now because I've seen other people who have similar experiences.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, this actually helped me out when you talk about it and stuff like that. But yeah, I think I got arrested for my first time at 14 for aggravated assault. I got 2 felony charges, and that was kind of the beginning of me in this world of crime, I guess you could say. I got arrested, and then I was put into like alternative schools, and now I'm surrounded, going through
same environment.
Yeah, so I'm put around where before I was not the most clean cut kid, but this was never like an issue with me. Now you're put in this environment where whether I'm going to juvenile detention or whether I'm going to the alternative schools where they send the bad kids if they get expelled from certain schools, put in these environments, so it kind of cultivates this negative, destructive behavior, especially in young kids, while your brain's kind of still developing. You're trying to be cool for your boys and people and peer pressure and all that stuff. And so over my teenage years, kept getting arrested, kept getting in trouble for various things, assault, robbery, burglary, all sorts of just stuff that I think back now, and I'm like, it's wild to even think that I was willing to do some of the stuff I was willing to do. And I think a lot of it was just like kind of social acceptance. Like I said, you want to be cool, you want to be badass, and you want to be like impressive or whatever to your peers who are now also in that same environment. So you kind of feed off of each other in this destructive pattern. So got into drugs, got into committing a lot of crimes, spent a lot of years in juvenile detention, and even did a little bit of time in Davis County Jail. And around that time, this was from 14 and then up until the time I was about 22, 23, 20, yeah, I actually turned 23 in Davis County Jail. And after I got out of there, I had kind of calmed down a little bit, but I didn't really feel like I had any sort of purpose or anything like that. I wasn't doing anything with my life. I wasn't going to school. I'd have like little odd jobs here and there. So it was kind of weird that one day I just randomly was like, hey, I want to start going to the gym and like get like big muscles and like get big arms and like pick up chicks or something. Right.
Okay.
It's very, very
motivation was chicks. I get it.
Dude, a lot of guys get into it and then it's very shallow surface level thing. And then I remember, my first gym membership was Anytime Fitness in Bountiful in a little plaza right off 500 South. I started in there and I was going in there before work every day, and it was strange because I never had anything that I had committed to like this. I didn't play sports, too busy getting in trouble. I spent all these years just getting in trouble, doing dumb stuff, whatever. And this was the first time that I'm like, okay, I actually like doing this thing, and I like doing it every day on a repetitive basis. And I started to see like results a little bit. You know, I got like a baby little bicep vein one day, and I'm like, oh, I'm getting so jacked. And I think, you know, I'm like 6 months and I'm like, I'm huge. And I look back, but it became addicting. So I think a lot of my sort of young, you know, crazy wildness energy that I think a lot of young guys have was being directed in destructive ways, where now I had a way to channel that in a way to where it was beneficial. So I could go in there, take out whatever energy or anger or whatever I had in with heavy hardcore weight training, and then started to, you know, research and read all this stuff. And I just became obsessed with fitness and bodybuilding and how to optimize my results. It's like, okay, cool. I like doing this thing. Okay, what do I need to do to maximize my results? What do I need to do to, you know, get leaner? What do I need to do to build muscle faster? And what are different training, all this sort of stuff. And it just consumed my life. And then from there, after about a year of being pretty consistent in the gym, I was training at Gold's, and I kept having people ask me, like, do you compete? Do you compete? And I'm like, no.
They just found jacked you, where they're like, hey, man, this dude's jacked. What's he doing?
Yeah, I advanced pretty quickly. So I definitely have some genetics working for me in that sense, to where I was like, why is everybody asking me this? Like, I'm like, I never planned on competing. I still was following like the big Hall of Fame bodybuilders, Dorian Yates, Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, stuff like that. But I never considered competing. And then I'm like, should I be competing? People keep asking me if I'm competing. And so I was like, well, shit, I guess I'll sign up for a bodybuilding show. And that was the first one that I did. And I got absolutely smoked. It was a terrible, terrible showing. Took last place in all my classes, but it gave me a little bit more of a vision of like, oh, this is like a really cool environment. And I remember walking backstage, and I looked around and I was like, what am I doing? I am so out of place. I'm not supposed to be here. But I did it. I did the thing. And after it was all said and done, I was like, okay, well, I thought I was pretty good, but I got a lot more work to do to be competitive with these guys, even at a local level. And when I started the division of open bodybuilding, there's different divisions, but open bodybuilding is like the most extreme version. There was a lot more guys in that, a lot more bigger, hardcore guys, you know, 220 to 240 pounds, just no body fat on their bodies. And so I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like 180 pounds. Still, I mean, when I started, I was pretty skinny. I was the skinniest guy in the gym. And it just kind of transpired from there. And after a few years, I started taking it pretty serious. And from there, my old life and all my old friends and all the stuff that I was doing, you know, for the previous 10 or so years was just, it wasn't there anymore. I did not have any desire to go out and party or do crazy stuff with friends or impress anybody or anything like that. Like it just completely shifted. And I think it also gave me somewhat of a sense of purpose.
Sure.
And a level of control over my own life, where before I think that was a thing. I just did crazy stuff without even thinking about repercussions or anything like that. Just was very, very impulsive. And now I'm like, no, I'm not doing any of these things. I got to be in bed by 8 p.m. because I got to wake up and go train, and then I got to eat all my meals and do all this stuff. And the lifestyle of bodybuilding is very,
It's a lifestyle. Exactly the word you just said. It is a
yeah,
lifestyle.
yeah, it's very demanding. So that's kind of how I fell into that and be able to utilize this behavior that was previously very, very destructive, and now use it to kind of build up my life in a more constructive way and give me a level of purpose in my life that I just did not have before. So bodybuilding kind of in a way, like, that definitely like saved my life, because a lot of the guys that I grew up with, they're literally like the old saying, like dead or in jail. Like, so that's the truth for pretty much all of those guys, or at least the large majority of them now, where I was very close to falling down that path.
You remind me of a story. I talked to a bodybuilder at one of the shows, and I said, "Hey, what got you into bodybuilding?" Question, right?
Yeah.
And he says, "Well, Mom, I got in trouble."
Yeah.
And he said, "My mom would drop me off at the gym and wouldn't come and pick us up until 2 or whatever the time frame was."
Yeah.
And he said, "Luckily, there was a guy in there, whether just took him under his wing."
Yep.
And that's how it all started for him. Same destructive behavior, right?
Yeah.
Channeled it towards bodybuilding, and now does that.
Yeah. And I think with men, and primarily young boys, I think that we just have to call it testosterone or whatever. We have this like drive and ambition that if you don't have a positive outlet, it's going to come out in negative, destructive ways. And so, whether that be like fighting or committing crimes or something like that, you have this desire to do something. And if you don't choose something like sports or business or something like that, that's really going to demand a lot from you and work you to the edge of your competence and your understanding where you can grow, you're going to direct it in some sort of way. And I think I ever since doing this, I'm very, very for, young guys like getting into sports or getting into martial arts or something like that challenges you physically but also mentally.
Yes.
And I was lucky enough that bodybuilding just randomly just decided to go to the gym one day and completely changed the trajectory of my life.
Yeah, you go back and you said you'd either be dead or in jail. I mean, that's
Oh yeah.
wow. I see that. I mean, I coach a lot of youth athletes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always about, you need to get to your age. You need to this, and this. And you can see it sometimes on the field where they've come just a little too tight, right? You're like, but they got to get it out.
Yep.
And then when they go home, they're exhausted.
Yeah.
And that's the idea.
Yeah.
And then repeat it all over again the next day.
Yeah. It's a release that I think, not just men, but I think just humans in general, I look at it in a way to where we've been the majority of human existence. It's in our DNA to be physically active in some sort of way, because that's how we've been wired and built. It's only been in a very relatively short period of time, like last 100 or so years, that we've been able to be sedentary and our bodies haven't been challenged physically. And I think by not doing that, I think that creates a lot of like mental issues and stuff like that that happen today. Because like you said, where you get those young boys, they need to get it out in some sort of way.
Behind a computer screen, or they've got to. I mean, I get it occasionally. But you need to be out and about.
Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be something crazy like lacrosse or football or bodybuilding where it's super physically demanding, but I think just the movement and some sort of that physical stress, and it transpires into your mental health.
Yes.
So I'm a very big proponent of, like, I'm the extreme version of fitness, where I'm like, a lot of my clients come to me, they're like, well, you're like a bodybuilder and I don't really want to be like that or be big or do all these things required. I'm like, I was like, I will tell you to just start going on walks and then just go into the gym a couple times a week. And you don't have to go balls to the wall crazy, but just move your body in some sort of way, and it will help you way more than you can imagine. And it's been a pretty credible sort of journey that I've been able to experience. And then the mental side of things, the growth that I've experienced, like character growth, has far exceeded like the physical. And I say like the physical portion, that's just a byproduct of like what my mind has been able to do into shifting into more of like little bit more ambitious, more confident. Um, because I also used to be, when I was younger, I was the quiet kid in class that would never talk, and the teachers were worried and people were worried. And they're like, "Why do you never talk?" And now you don't get me to shut up, right? So it's like I'm very social now, to where I'm almost complete opposite of who I was younger, and I relate that to bodybuilding because it changed me mentally far beyond anything physical.
One of the things I admire, you said earlier, is that you stepped on stage after all these people saying you compete and you finished last. You
Yeah.
didn't give up, but yet the same
No.
token, you started somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you still remember that, but it's like it propelled you to do better. You're like, hey, okay, I got to get more competitive. You didn't give up.
No. It really, because I knew that I still had something, and maybe I was just stubborn. Maybe I thought that,
All about.
yeah, maybe I was a little bit. I thought I was a little bit better than I was at the time, but that helped me in a way to where I would say, like, I was smart enough to believe in myself, but dumb enough to not stop. Right? Yeah. I didn't know when to stop, and so I just kept going. And each show that I did, I got better and better and better and better, to where I'm at the point now to where I'm at a national level. I've taken top placings and almost gotten my pro card in the most competitive division, which is open bodybuilding. And there's a bunch, and that's always been something too, to where I put myself in the most difficult and the most competitive divisions on purpose, where I could have went pro, hypothetically, right? This is just hypothetical, but my mind, seeing pros now, and like when people go pro, I could have gotten my pro card in one of the lesser divisions long ago, but I'm like, no, that's not what I want. I want it in this division. I want it to be the hardest, most competitive division with the biggest, most shredded, most crazy guys. Like, that's where I want to be, and I will go pro in that division or not at all. And so it created like this level of confidence and this level of craziness that I've been able to, use to my benefit, and it keeps me working out the edge of my confidence and making sure that I'm pushing to my absolute max. And now I can transfer that into everything else that I do. So yeah, so it's been pretty cool.
When is the next show?
Next show will be in December. I'll do nationals in Texas, and that will be going for my pro card. I've competed at a national show twice now and taken third place and fifth place, so that's what's considered first call outs, and so that's pretty damn close. And I've advanced a lot from there, and so I think over the years I've just watched myself get better and better and better, and in my mind I'm like, well, if I continuously progress and continuously get better, they can only tell me no so many times before they have to give me a pro card, and so it's kept me very driven. And it's just, that has just bled over, that competitiveness and confidence and ambition has just bled over into all aspects of my life.
Amazing when you move your body, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we were hunters and gatherers just 100 years ago, and now we're not meant to be stagnant.
No.
They say your brain functions better when you get out and go for a walk. But what's interesting is I thought I walked a lot, and then I started tracking my steps.
Yeah.
To do 10,000 steps, that's difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 4 or 5 miles in some cases.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's hour. It could be an hour if you're walking slow, but it's like, but looking back over last year, I'm like, okay, as long as I can average 10,000, like yesterday I got 18,000. So
there you go.
I'm like, it's you're like, okay.
Yeah.
I thought I did it, but I didn't.
Yeah.
So I would say track, right? Track and measure. You guys are always measuring, you're tracking, you're got a time watch. Hey, I got to eat this food, I got to watch that. I got to do this.
Yeah. I got alarms, meals prepped. I have alarms for that'll go off when I need to eat a meal if I don't remember. At this point, I pretty much remember. I don't forget to eat. But then I have my Whoop, track everything. I track my sleep, take weight, take measurements, stuff like that. And so it becomes a little crazy. And I will say, and even as I've done this for all over a decade now, the competitive bodybuilding world is kind of crazy and kind of weird and kind of silly to an extent, but I've seen it, not just myself and others, how much it's helped other people in other aspects of their life. And I think the big thing is the level of self-confidence and the level of believing in yourself, and being able to see physical changes happen due to things that you have done. So you get this sense of like power in yourself, and you're like, oh, like I do have control. And now you look at other things in life that you look at the world differently now, right? And it's it's a pretty amazing thing if you approach it in the correct way.
When somebody decides to become a business owner, it's a lot the same. You're like, it's you against you. It isn't in bodybuilding, it's you against you, right? Yeah. It's I mean, I get it. You have comparisons, and I have people that I compete against, but it's me against me.
Yep.
It's no one else, and so I have full control, full autonomy of what I do and don't do, just like bodybuilding. Whether you go to the gym or not to the gym.
It's exactly what it is, and that's one of the big things that they talk about in bodybuilding is like you aren't competing with everybody else. You're competing with who you were yesterday or who you were the last show, and it's something that I had to learn, and that I've given my clients and stuff like that. I'm like, you need to not look at other competitors, because especially like we said with social media, it's a double-edged sword, because you can get on there and you'll look at the people who are either super far ahead of you that you want to reach, and you make these comparisons, and it seems so far away, so it almost kind of gets you down. Or if you're going into like a contest, you know who the other competitors are, and sometimes they'll have like at the shows out here, Steve will release the live roster. So within 2 weeks, you'll have the list of names of all the people that are going to be in your class that you're going to be competing with. What do you think people do?
They're like, I'm competing against this person, that person.
Got to go on Instagram. Yeah. And I'm guilty as well, where you go on, you look at this person's Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and now you're like, oh crap, oh man. And because also in bodybuilding, this level of body dysmorphia happens where you don't see yourself the way that other people see you. It's hard to have this objective view of yourself. So it kind of messes with your brain a little bit. And then you go and compare yourself, what you think you look like, to other people who are equally as impressive, or sometimes not even the same level of impressiveness or advancement. And you'll be like, oh man, they look so good. And then you start getting in your head and doing this thing. And I'm constantly having conversations with friends or clients. Like one specifically, he is way better than he thinks he is. And he's constantly being like, I got to beat this guy, and I'll send you this guy's. He's like, and I'm like, dude, stop. I was like, I'm going to take your phone and I'm going to throw it out the window, because you are in your head so much that it's actually going to work against you. And you need to just, like you said, you're competing against yourself. You come in at your absolute best. You control what you can control, and everything else, every other person, any other variable that is not within you, you just let it go. And it's taken a long time for me to get there, but I've gotten pretty good at it. It's just kind of compartmentalizing and just separating myself from what anybody else is doing. And yeah, it's like you said, same thing with business. You can look at how good this guy's doing, or look at this guy's flashy car that he got on Instagram, who, and maybe it might be rented if it really hits, all these sort of things. You got to be flashy for Instagram. And so the Instagram thing that's everybody's highlight reel. Of course, you're going to be posting like all your coolest things, and might even be, being a little bit, embellishing a bit with what you have going on. And we're creatures that we judge and we compare, and that can be turned around on ourselves. And it constantly trying to tell yourself, like, what this person's doing, that's them. Good on them, cool. I need to focus on being my best, and need to focus on beating me of yesterday, or me of last show, or me of last year, me of my revenue last year versus this year. Like, I'm just focused on this one single thing. And I think by doing that, by just changing your mindset, you're going to actually make yourself better. Where just shifting it the other way, you'll probably make yourself worse. It'll be almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. So bodybuilding, it's been a wild ride, and it's a crazy, weird sport. And some people like look at it, what the heck? I know my family did. But when you really understand it, at a foundational level of what's really going on, it's pretty impressive, and it's a good community, and your mindset is going to dictate your experience through that.
Any last thoughts, man? That went quick.
Dang, was that all right?
No, yeah,
dude.
great.
See, that's what I was saying. You have to get me to shut up at one point.
Not last thoughts, man.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. Start lifting weights if you're not.
There you go.
Get in the gym. Ty.
I'm yeah.
Come on.
You know, it's amazing. Zach, thanks for being on the show.
Yep.
As always, share, like, and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Ty Brady Way. As always, share, like, and subscribe. Go to Instagram at ty.r.brady. And as always, love hearing from you. And let me know what you want to learn on the show or what you'd like me to bring up on the show. Thanks.
You can find the Ty Brady Way on Instagram as well as Facebook. To stay connected with giveaways and Ty himself, go ahead and follow at ty.r.brady on Instagram as well as Facebook. This podcast was recorded, edited, and produced by Whitney Face Media Marketing. And the theme music is an excerpt from Hot Chicken of the Woods by Isaac Joel.